Audience members, I want to start by asking you to please silence your electronic devices. I would also like to remind you that in addition to the audience in this room, we have people watching and listening online, so please consider your language in comments and testimony today. Today's meeting is a hybrid board meeting. Some presenters and guests will appear in person, and some will appear virtually. For those presenting virtually, please mute your mic when not speaking, and when presenting, make sure to unmute your mic and turn on your camera. For those joining us in person to provide public testimony or present, please turn your mic on when you begin speaking so the green light is showing, and off when you've completed your remarks so the red light is showing. And for all presenters, please state your name for the record before speaking or responding to questions. May I have a motion on the consent calendar?
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Brim Edwards moves. Commissioner Moyer seconds. Approval of the consent calendar. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. The consent calendar is approved.
Opportunity for public comment on non-agenda matters. This is a time for the board to hear public testimony, not for board deliberation. When it is your turn to speak, I will call your name and unmute you or call you to the presenters table. I'll set a timer for 3 minutes when you begin speaking and announce when your time is up, at which point please wrap up your sentence. We have 6 people signed up for verbal testimony and received 16 written testimonies which were shared with board members and staff. We're going to start with in-person testimony. We have Nicole Jackson, injured and pissed off, and lightning.
Hi, Nicole. Okay, go ahead and start, and don't forget to turn on the mic.
Good morning. My name is Nicole Jackson, and I'm the Director of Housing and Retention for Do Good Multnomah. We're the service provider currently operating the North Portland Drop-In Center. Last week, Multnomah County approved a budget that included the decision to close the North Portland Day Center, a day center in St. John's that has served approximately 300 people since opening last summer. While there is no way to speak to the full impact this decision will have in under 3 minutes, I'm going to do my best, and I've also provided my comments in writing, including a map showing the gap in similar resources for this community the closure creates. Something that you are not aware of because you couldn't have been is that as the board was making that decision on Thursday, our staff at the drop-in center were busy saving a life. On Thursday afternoon, participants who frequent the day center noticed an individual slumped on his side about a block away, possibly overdosing. Their first instinct was to run to alert staff at the drop-in center who are trained in Narcan use and CPR. Drop-in staff began helping the individual, followed shortly by a doctor and a nurse from the Multnomah County Health Center next door. This intervention ultimately saved that individual's life. This incident and the 7 similar incidents that the team has responded to since the drop-in opened is symbolic of what the drop-in center provides St. John's and the greater North Portland area. A resource that people struggling with houselessness, addiction, mental health, and other barriers know is a safe place to ask for help. Not only that, but it's also a critical bridge of services between people living on our streets and the life-saving care that somewhere like the health center can offer in emergencies. Being able to jump into action in a moment like that is exactly what we dreamed the site would be able to provide when we spent years planning it alongside you all. So while we don't dispute the decision to relocate the facility itself, and we appreciate the amendment to fund the center for 3 months through the summer, we feel that the decision to close the drop-in center without having a new, larger location ready to open, ensuring a seamless transition in critical services, marks a critical moment during a deeply troubling period for our region. In the last 30 days, 11 individuals have had their medications delivered to the site. Medications that moving forward, they will have to travel 45 plus minutes on public transportation to the nearest mail services location to pick up. This is true of almost all the services we offer, not just mail. When the closure of the site was proposed, Do Good Multnomah made it very clear just how negatively this decision would impact the houseless population in St. John's and North Portland, as well as the businesses and neighbors at the site. Defunding this program before a new location is available creates a huge gap in services and resources in St. John's and North Portland that there is currently no plan to address. The need for services the drop-in center provided will only continue to grow in the wake of shelter closures, but now there will be nowhere for those individuals to go. Individuals like the person who left a message at 6 a.m. on Friday pleading for help, fleeing from a domestic violence situation, and at 10 a.m. was meeting with staff on site who shared resources and options that might be able to help.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Good morning. Good to see you.
My name's injured and pissed off. I swear it is. I've got a letter here that I'll hand or leave at the desk here. It's titled as number 1. It's from the Oregon Department, State of Oregon Department of Human Services and People with Disabilities. It says that the state will pay $19,166 a month. That's for 11 months this year, it'll be $210,826. And paper 2 has specified low Medicare beneficiary benefits approved and OHS or OHP, Oregon Health Plan, plus full medical benefits approved. And that's paper number 2, and paper number 3 is I paid my rent at the care facility Harvest Homes that I'm at. When I was injured in 2010, I'm holding a penny here that they're no longer producing. I got more here in my hand than what I have received in compensation for all my misery and medical mistreatment and everything, but they're starting to pay. Of course, next year it'll cost more than $210,000 because there's 12 months, and there's no limit upon the time they pay this, and it actually says there's no current end date. Those people with Longview, those 11 people that died, and then the others that were injured, they don't even get their medical, their funerals paid for. My mother was only 2 years old when her father was killed, my grandfather, one of them. At an industrial railroad, he worker apparently got killed. She lived till 2006. She was 78, so I hadn't quite done the math there. I'm sure people could figure out when Jack Deason, that was his name. Thank you. I'll
Next,
leave these 3 papers.
We'll take them, and then we have staff in the back of the room who can talk with you a little bit. Injured.
Next, we have Lightning and Anna, as is Connie.
Yes, my name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Superhumanity. Basically, one of the things that I wanted to have a discussion on is your favorite, the UFC fight at the White House. Everything you ever dreamed of, June 14th. Now again, I'm an absolute Justin Gaethje fan, and he's going to be fighting Ilia Topuria, who's undefeated out of Spain, called the Matador. And there's only one way that Justin Gaethje can win this fight. He has to knock out Ilia within the first 3 minutes. He has to push him up against the cage and don't stop. Otherwise, Ilia is so good at reading that fighter that he will knock you out in the first round, Justin, and easily in the second. So if you don't knock him out in the first round, and all the bettors are out there right now on the poly markets and Dulce and everything are watching this real close, Gaethje will win this fight. and he's fighting for America. And this is his biggest fight in his life. He's out of Arizona. He came out of the mines. That's where his family worked from, and he worked his way up. The biggest fight in his lifetime is going to be on June 14th. Justin Gaethje will knock out Ilia Topuria under 3 minutes. That is the statement from Lightning out of Multnomah County, Portland, Oregon. Under 3 minutes. Place your bets, people. Now, on the data centers, we need to start understanding big tech AI is the big tech banks of the world. Big tech AI controls the municipalities, controls the state, and let's face it, they control the White House. So to my good friends at Big Tech AI, every $1 billion that you do a data center in the state of Oregon, I'm asking you set aside $100 million to go to affordable permanent housing. Every $1 billion of value on your data centers. And you know as well as I do, Big Tech AI, you can't survive without these data centers. The data centers are your lifeblood to AGI. The lifeblood to the people living out on these streets is that housing, is that big tech AI basic income of $1,000 per month to anyone living under the poverty level. Big tech AI is going to fund the shelters. Big tech AI is going to get this done. And guess what? If we don't have a governor who knows how to negotiate these deals up front, we need to put a new governor in place. Enjoy your retirement, Governor Kotek.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Anna, and I'm here to talk about Multnomah County Animal Services. Bear was a 90-pound Malamute who was found wandering the waterfront on 411. The finder posted a great video of Bear moseying alongside him, drinking from the fountain. He was sweet and easygoing. Bear was adopted quickly, but returned because his adopter put him in her bathroom for 6 hours, and he destroyed it. The shelter has no post-adoption support nor trainers to educate adopters. Upon his return, MCAS found a microchip they missed, which connected him to an incident in 2024 where he killed a neighbor's turkey. This classified him as a level 4 dangerous dog because he killed livestock while at large. MCAS says it will not adopt out any level dog, whereas the county code allows for discretion of the director. When the adopter found out that he could be killed, she was distraught, called MCAS crying, saying she would take him back. They told her, "Don't worry, we won't euthanize Bear." Bear was killed on 5/7. Enzo was a very energetic husky who was getting kennel stressed. His life was saved in the 11th hour when his finder offered to foster him. For 6 weeks, Enzo did great with his foster because he gave him the exercise a young husky needs. MCAS follows a first-come, first-served adopters welcome adoption model, which does not screen for best fit. They adopted Enzo out to an older couple who live in an apartment. The husband, who is in a wheelchair, said that his grandson would run with him. Unsurprisingly, Enzo was returned for having too much energy. They complained he stole food off the counter and was aggressive even though he never bit anyone. MCAS sent out an urgent foster and plea request. 2 different husky rescues expressed interest in him, but after MCAS had already decided to euthanize. One of those rescues left multiple messages and emails, never got a response, and was lied to by the front desk, who said that Enzo had already been killed over the weekend. None of those calls or emails were recorded in Enzo's public record. They killed Enzo yesterday on 6/10. Shammy was killed even though his owner said she was driving up from Fresno to get him. She was told the shelter would contact her with next steps, but they never did. Later, she left multiple messages and emails and never got a response. None of those were recorded in Shammy's public record. CRV was killed even though his finders called and emailed multiple times to adopt or foster him. None of those calls or emails were returned, and none were recorded in CRV's public record. Much of the public believes that MCAS only kills dogs when alternatives have been exhausted or when they have severe behavior or medical issues, but that's just not true. The public deserves better, the local rescue community deserves better, the volunteers who sacrifice so much deserve better, the hands-on staff who love these animals deserve better, and most of all, these animals deserve better. The job opening for Director of Animal Services was finally posted on June 5th. The closing date is June 29th. That's only 24 days. That does not seem long enough to find the appropriate person. We don't want someone internal to be appointed to director. We want a true national search to find someone with experience and current models of animal welfare who will lead the shelter in a new direction.
Thank you.
We have one person signed up virtually. Addie, you can unmute yourself and begin. Addie, if you can hear me, you can unmute yourself and begin.
Okay, I didn't realize I was coming up. 1 second. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Addie Smith. Today is Thursday, June 11th, 2026. I'm speaking before the Multnomah County Commissioners. For several years, I've been speaking about the racism, discrimination, acts of Class C felony perjury happening with the probation officers at the Multnomah County Department of Community Justice. Denise Pena has been with the Department of Community Justice since 2004, and Suzanne Brown McBride has been with the agency for a little over a year now, and still the violations of the office continue. Still the violations of probationers' rights under state and federal laws continue. Jesus Cruz Carrasco, Andrew Altman, Amanda Miller, Dorsey Johnson, James Stevens, Travis Gamble, Jaime Urbina are liars. They violate their oaths. They violate the law with impunity. They have committed Class C felonies. They are intentionally misleading circuit courts across the state of Oregon. They are intentionally submitting notarized statements to court alleging that they have contacted probationers regarding probation and that these probationers aren't showing up to meet with them. People who are no longer under probation, people whose cases are overturned and appealed. Again, these probation officers are taking notarized documents to court and telling judges they have contacted probationers and advised these probationers to meet with them. This is not happening. These probation officers are not contacting probationers and advising them of anything. Committing this type of perjury is a Class C felony. Denise Pena and Suzanne Brown McBride have no control over their employees at the Department of Community Justice. There is no oversight or accountability. The Department of Community Justice is irresponsible. Their budget is excessive and out of control. The staff at the Department of Community Justice are racist. The entire department and every case involving a Black or African American probationer must be investigated. These commissioners have colluded with the Department of Community Justice to retaliate against the young Black men because I have been speaking out about how they violated the law. Their actions have been vindictive and retaliatory. This is the Democratic Party. Instead of correcting their actions or apologizing and correcting their actions, conduct, and violating the law, they triple down on it to send a message to their victims. Do not mess with us or we will viciously harm your family and loved ones. I want to remind you that I will be reading the transcript from Jaime Urbina, wherein he testified that he did not inform a probationer that he could not leave the state, then had that probationer arrested for so-called violating probation when they were never told that they needed permission to travel to another state. Also be mindful that these are regarding probationers on allegations of misdemeanor charges wherein they took guilty pleas because the court had them placed in restricted housing. That's the hole in the sheriff's department, in the jail, where they've never been charged or convicted of a crime. They have been suppressed and placed under duress and made these sort of decisions. This is the Democratic Party, and I am going to vote accordingly in 2028.
Okay, that is it for public testimony.
All right, thank you. We'll now move on to our regular agenda. So I've been notified that there is an error with R1, and so we are going to need to, I'm going to ask for a motion to postpone it indefinitely. so that we can take it off, get it fixed, and then bring it back to the board, and we're using indefinitely just so we can look at the schedule and figure out when's the best time to bring it back. So may I have a motion to postpone RM1 indefinitely?
So moved.
Second. Commissioner Brim Edwards moves, Commissioner Moyer seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, the motion to postpone indefinitely R1 passes. Great. Tasia, can we move on to R2, please? When you're ready.
R2, budget modification number DCA-012-26, FY 2026 fleet contingency use.
May I have a motion? Commissioner Singleton moves, Commissioner Jones-Dixon seconds, approval of R2. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Nancy Artman with DCA. I'm the Budget and Finance Director and use she, her pronouns. With me today is Deputy DCA Director Karenza Mock, and we're here to discuss a budget modification for use of contingency within the fleet program. Specifically, DCA requests authorization from the board to access $635,684 from Fleet Services budgeted contingency. I'd like to underscore there is no request for additional funds. We have sufficient revenue. We're just seeking the budget appropriation. Upon approval of this request, the fiscal year 2026 budget appropriation of the fleet program will increase to a level needed to address the costs associated with increased demands for services, increased costs of contracted repairs, vehicle parts, fuel, and oil. The fleet division, as mentioned, has sufficient revenue to cover this additional expense. If approved, this change will not have impact upon revenue. DCA did contemplate an increase in inflationary cost for its fiscal year 2026 budget. Specifically, a 6% increase was added to the categories of materials and services and contracted services. However, our forecasts for fiscal year 2026 couldn't have predicted some of the unanticipated increases that we've faced. These are driven primarily by the heavy cost of tariffs and also by global events which have driven fuel prices up by 48% since January of this year. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you for leaving us with those sobering comments. Did we have any public testimony on this item, Tasia?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, I'm going to call on commissioners to see who have comments. We'll start with Commissioner Brim Edwards.
I don't have any comments or questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Singleton?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Moyer? No? Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Thank you, Director.
Okay, I don't have any questions. Thank you for your work on this. Tasia, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Moyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon? Yes. Chair Vega Peterson?
Yes, the budget modification passes.
Thank you very much.
R3, budget modification number DCHS-008-26, appropriate $750,000 in emergency rent assistance from the City of Portland.
World Cup?
May I have a motion?
Hey, so moved.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon was ready to. Okay, so Commissioner Jones-Dixon moves. I'm sorry, Commissioner Brim Edwards seconds, approval of R3. Good morning. People are very excited about this, as they should be.
Good morning and happy World Cup Day. Go Mexico. So good morning, Board of Commissioners. I'm Sarah Morrissey, one of your Deputy Chief Operating Officers at Multnomah County. I use she, her pronouns. I'm pleased to join you this morning to provide background on the budget modification that will appropriate $750,000 in emergency rent assistance from the City of Portland within this current fiscal year to DCHS. On April 16th, 2026, through a technical adjustment ordinance, Portland City Council passed the Keeping Portlanders Housed Ordinance. This was a $56 million historic housing package focused on preventing homelessness and stabilizing affordable housing. Within the ordinance, the council included $5 million for emergency rent assistance. Knowing the immediate need of these resources, DCHS worked with the COO's office to put together a proposal for the city administrator to consider to expedite distribution of these resources. The city and county agreed to transfer the funding to allow the county, through DCHS, to distribute the funding in both FY26 and FY27. I will now pass it to Director Pearl to provide technical details on the program.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Sarah. Hey, everyone. Rachel Pearl, she, her pronouns, Director for Department of County Human Services. I was just telling Sarah that my sister lives in South Africa, so I'm conflicted this morning. And that's all I have. No, I'm just kidding. In total, DCHS is expected to distribute $4.5 million across 2 fiscal years in eviction prevention rent assistance through 2 methods. Directly through our Bienestar de la Familia program in our Youth and Family Services Division, as well as through a cohort of community-based organizations. This is similar to what we do with other eviction prevention dollars. These funds are expected to support around 1,000 households with eviction prevention rent assistance. The remaining $500,000 will go towards operating and administrative expenses for the program. So the funding is supported by the city, and we're really grateful to the city for this partnership. It's actually really exciting for us to be exploring sort of collaborating in this way. So thank you to our city partners for that. And this is being administered through an intergovernmental agreement, or an IGA. This budget modification allows the county to receive $750,000 for DCHS to allocate to Bienestar de la Familia to administer eviction prevention this fiscal year. The remaining balance of the funding was incorporated into the FY27 budget through an amendment in the standard budget process. So now through June 30th of this year, Portland residents can access eviction prevention through our Bienestar de la Familia program by contacting 211 info directly, either via email or by calling. And then beginning in July, additional eviction prevention rental assistance funded by the city as well as the county and the state of Oregon will also be available through that same method, as well as additional providers in the community. DCHS has also created a website to ensure up-to-date information can be provided to the community, and we will also be providing quarterly reporting to all of you on the board, as well as to the City of Portland Council as well. So that's what we have for you, and if you have questions, we're here for it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate this. Did we have any public testimony on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, I'll call on commissioners to see who has any comments or questions. Starting with Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you. Thank you for making sure we can get this out the door both quickly this year to folks in need, but also with the plan for next year. Just as I did before, also need to shout out our city council colleagues who were able to take this step and send the money over here. So I do want to appreciate Councilor Smith, who I know lobbied really hard to not set up a duplicative structure over at the City of Portland. So just appreciate everybody's work. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Moyer.
I really appreciate this partnership from the city. It's not quite $31 million, but I appreciate the leadership of the City Council, and I look forward to reporting back to them all the good that this will do to our neighbors.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones-Dixon.
No additional comments or questions, just ditto to what's been stated so far, so thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Brim-Edwards.
It's great to see already things being put into action, not waiting till the start of the next fiscal year. So thanks for managing that. I'll also extend my thanks to the City Council and the City of Portland, and also to the taxpayers who paid the funds that are providing this really important component of the larger plan. And thanks to all the county staff who played a part in setting this up, getting it stood up quickly, and taking action. I know it will make a difference right away.
Thanks, and I'll just add my appreciation for all of the really good conversations and work that was happening between the city and the county, and both at the elected level and the administrative level, to make sure that we could, get these dollars out to the public in a way that was the most efficient and effective of both moving things quickly, but also not having to, create duplicative processes that would eat up a lot of overhead. And I think that's exactly what the public wants to see. And this is one of the many ways that we work with the city on this, but I think it sets us up well as we're looking at some of these other overlaps that we have, especially with some of the investments that we've made in our budget we just passed and what the city is working on right now. So more to come on this. Thank you both very much. Tasia, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes?
Commissioner Brim Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon,
Yes.
Commissioner Moyer,
Yes.
Chair Vega Peterson.
Aye, the budget modification passes.
R4, budget modification number OVER-001-26, estimated FY 2026 cost for the Multnomah County Corrections Deputies Association Agreement.
May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Singleton moves, Commissioner Jones-Dixon seconds, approval of R4. Good morning, Christian. We missed you.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Christian Elton, County Budget Director. Use she, her pronouns. It has been a while, so I decided to come back. These next two bud mods are going to feel very familiar as we discuss them during the fiscal year 2027 budget process. But with this first bud mod, we are requesting the board appropriate $3.6 million in one-time only fiscal year 2026 general funds to fund retroactive pay from the retroactive pay impacts resulting from the newly ratified labor agreement with the Multnomah County Corrections Deputies Association, which was approved on May 28th, 2026. The retroactive pay affects approximately 411 FTE that are corrections staff. As a reminder, this action only adjusts funding for existing personnel costs. No new positions or FTE changes are being made. Also, as a reminder, the ongoing costs of this contract were already anticipated and set aside in the fiscal year 2027 proposed budget. However, because the agreement was finalized in late May, we are recognizing the costs in fiscal year 2026 so payments can be processed immediately. The breakdown of the budget is the Sheriff's Office General Fund personnel expenses will increase by $3.6 million, which is split across the core jail program offers for MCDC and MCIJ. And then the risk fund increases by $191,000, and that's the internal service adjustments for the benefits that come along with increasing those salaries. Finally, the ongoing funding for this contract has already been accounted for in the fiscal year 2027 adopted budget that we adopted last week.
All right, thank you so much. Tasia, did we have any public testimony on this item?
Yes, we have one person signed up.
Great.
Lightning.
Yes, my name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Superhumanity. Basically, again, pertaining to the correction officers, I want to make sure I have a clear understanding on this overtime issue, which I thought was outrageous, where correction officers are pushing over $300,000 a year. Again, at the very least, the commissioners and the chair could put a cap on that, and I would just recommend allowing them to do $24,000 per year overtime, any individual, and that's, you're capped out at that point. I don't want to see any of these outrageous $300,000+ a year correction officers buying their latest Harley Davidson, their latest oceanfront condo, and their nice Rolexes. I'm the one trying to take that all away from all of you, and I'm going to end up doing it. Now, again, when we're talking about Inverness Jail, again, when I said I just prefer to have that closed, I know a lot of people looked at me and said, that's just outrageous. But when I said closed, what I meant is then to turn it into a treatment type center housing facility, similar to what they did with Wapato Jail. And I think they've done an outstanding job going in that direction, and I commend my friend Jordan Snitzer on that. And what I'm proposing is that we close Inverness Jail and we give Jordan Snitzer the property and the land and let him do another site similar to what he did at Wapato, #2. And he's done an outstanding job. We'll shift all the money, all the cost away from Multnomah County. We won't have to be laying anybody off at Multnomah County anymore. We won't have this outrageous overtime because a lot of those correction officers now can work at the downtown facility. Again, I know Jordan Snitzer will have an interest in this. All you have to do is give him a call. If not, I'll drop by his office and have a discussion with him, and we can get this moving forward. Again, I'd like Jordan Snitzer to be given the property where Inverness Jail is and the building, and we shut it down and we convert that into more treatment center type housing facilities like they've done an amazing job with the Wapato Jail. Absolute outstanding job. And if you ever compare the cost to operate the Wapato Jail, which they did over there, compared to what they operate Inverness Jail, are you starting to see the picture here? We can get a lot more done by having Jordan Snitzer and his team, his group, take control of the Inverness Jail and the property, and it will keep Multnomah County workers employed. They'll keep their jobs, and your budget will begin to fall into place and balance itself out without having tremendous cuts on my good friends from Multnomah County who work here, which I'm not happy when you lose your jobs.
Thank you. All right, so we'll go to the board for any questions on this item. We'll start with Commissioner Moyer.
No questions.
Okay, Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
No questions.
Commissioner Brim-Edwards? Commissioner Singleton? Okay, I don't have any questions either, so we will go to the roll call vote.
Commissioner Brim-Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Commissioner Moyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Chair Baker-Peterson?
Yes, the budget modification passes.
R5, budget modification number OVER-002-26, estimated FY 2026 cost for the Oregon Nurses Association agreement.
May I have a motion? Yep. Commissioner Singleton moves, Commissioner Moyer seconds, approval of R5. Back to you, Christian.
Good morning again. For the record, Christian Elkin, County Budget Director. I use she, her pronouns. We are requesting that the board appropriate $580,000 in fiscal year 2026 one-time only general funds to fund retroactive pay resulting from the newly ratified labor agreement with the Oregon Nurses Association, which was approved on May 7th. The retroactive pay affects approximately 181 FTE. Again, as a reminder, this action only adjusts funding for existing personnel costs. It does not make any changes to FTE. The ongoing costs for the contract were already anticipated and set aside in the fiscal year 2027 proposed budget. However, because the agreement was finalized in late May, we are recognizing the costs in fiscal year 2026, so payments can be made immediately to staff. The general fund personnel expenses will increase by $580,000. That's split across the Corrections Health Program and the Public Health Office of Director Program, and the risk fund is increasing by an additional $23,000. Again, as a reminder, the ongoing funding for this contract has been accounted for in the fiscal year 2027 adopted budget that we adopted last week. Thank you.
Thank you. Tasia, did we have any public testimony on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, do we have any questions from the board on this item?
No.
Okay, Tasia, can, yes. Can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Commissioner Moyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim-Edwards?
Yes.
Chair Baker-Peterson?
Yes, the budget modification passes.
R6, second reading of ordinance creating safe school zones in Multnomah County, Oregon.
May I have a motion? So moved. Second. Commissioner Brim-Edwards moves, Commissioner Moyer seconds, approval of R6. Commissioner Brim-Edwards, I will turn this over to you.
Great, thank you. Good morning, colleagues. This is the second reading of the Safe School Zones Ordinance that Commissioner Moyer and I brought forward, which sets a community standard that promotes student safety, safe routes to schools in the areas adjacent to schools, and that will serve as a bridge until state action. This ordinance was drafted in consultation with the Health Department and the County Attorney, and with feedback from the Commission and the community. Establishing a safe school zone policy will prohibit the distribution of needles and syringes by mobile syringe service programs within 1,000 feet of K-12 schools. To recap, the commission held a briefing and a work session on May 7th and had the first reading on May 21st, where 2 amendments were adopted that are reflected in the posted ordinance today. There was the addition of a sunset to this policy of January 1, 2028. That again is to reflect that this is a bridge to state action. And second, there was an amendment to the removal of the use of the local public health authority language, since we're using home rule authority to establish policies that protect public health and community well-being. In addition to those changes to the ordinance, last Thursday, the commission unanimously approved an amendment providing $159,800 for enforcement of the Safe School Zone ordinance in the fiscal year 2027 budget. As part of this morning's deliberations, as I did before, I'm going to be distributing a letter of support from the Multnomah County Education Service District and the East County Superintendents, which includes these districts: Reynolds School District, Park Grove School District, Centennial, Corbett, David Douglas, Gresham School District, and Barlow. I'll pass this out in a moment. I'm also going to be introducing, for the record, letters of support from 3 Multnomah County mayors: Portland, Gresham, and Troutdale. I'll again pass those out to colleagues as well. At the commission meeting on the 21st, we received commission and community feedback and have continued to stay in touch with school districts, cities, providers, and the community. Based on feedback from District 2 and Outside In, last night there was an amendment circulated, which I assume will be brought forward this morning, that it addresses an issue that was raised at the May 7th and the 21st meetings regarding temporarily inoperable permanent syringe program sites, and creates a temporary limited exemption. I want to just thank all the community members who have, and providers and others who have participated in the discussion, provided feedback, and I think made the ordinance better. And just in closing, I just want to say this, I want to be clear that this ordinance establishes an important community standard and creates a bridge to state action. And with that, I'll pass it to Commissioner Moyer if you have comments.
I would just like to say I appreciate the work that was done on the amendment. I think that hopefully that addresses some concern. I too want to stress how important it is that the state still act on this issue. This is a temporary approach that is, I think, better dealt with the licensing and regulatory authority of the state. Also, we are standing something up that I don't want the county to have to fund in perpetuity, especially when I think that this is something that not just, although I can't say definitively, has been an issue in other locations, could be, and I appreciate that this is our attempt to address something that is particularly caused discomfort in my district. I have heard it, I have seen it. I hope that we are striking a balance. I think these things can be hard to navigate. And I want to be clear that nothing about this is a step away from harm reduction. Multnomah County supports harm reduction, will continue to support harm reduction. It is an evidence-based practice that reduces the spread of communicable diseases and prevents suffering. And so I think this is something that I've heard both sides of want to take to different extremes, and I just want to clarify from my perspective, the intent is a limited buffer zone and not a prohibition. And it's totally fine if people disagree with that, but I do want to be clear about at least my motivation here, and that it is not a condemnation of harm reduction, nor is it trying to find a backdoor to outlawing the distribution of syringes. It is just a feeling of balancing one vulnerable community against the needs of another vulnerable community and trying to strike a balance.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have had a lot of discussion on this. We're at the second reading. Is there any public testimony on this item, Tasia?
Yes. Let me pull up the list. We have 10 people signed up for public testimony.
Before we had any public testimony, did we want to have the amendment so that people, if they want to comment on an amendment, or will there be separate opportunities to testify on the amendment? I'm just.
Boards can bring forward amendments at any time, so it's, okay.
Okay, so if somebody wanted to testify on the amendment, that there'll be an opportunity?
This is the opportunity for all public testimony, so if we want to have that opportunity, you could bring forward the amendment now. Okay.
So I will hand this out. I think Commissioner Brim Edwards and I wanted to make sure that folks didn't feel sad this week that we weren't handing around a bunch of papers. So this amendment addresses the issue we discussed at our last board meeting around this ordinance, and I will read it. I know folks have seen it, but just want to make sure that the public is aware. It says, it adds language to say it is not a violation of this subchapter for a syringe service program to temporarily operate out of a mobile site adjacent to the program's permanent facility in cases where the permanent facility is temporarily inaccessible. In these cases, a limited term exemption will be granted. A timeline for the limited term exemption must be documented and communicated by the syringe service program to Multnomah County, and any adjacent sidewalk or public space must remain accessible to the public.
Thank you, Commissioner. And so this is, this has been looked at by the county attorney?
Correct.
Okay, great. And this is going to just go right after this first paragraph?
Correct.
Okay.
Into section 3.
Okay. Any questions about the amendment? Did we have a motion and a second? We'll need a motion and a second to consider.
Moved.
Okay. Commissioner Singleton moves, Commissioner Jones-Dixon seconds. So any further discussion on the amendment as described? Okay. Can we have, Tasia, can we have a roll call vote on the amendment?
Commissioner Moyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Yes, the amendment passes. So now we're back to discussion on the second reading of the ordinance as amended. All right, so now we can move on to public testimony.
We have 10 people signed up. I'm going to start with virtual testimony. First up, we have Senator Lisa Reynolds. Senator, you can unmute yourself and begin. Senator Reynolds, can you hear me?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm not in a fancy lodge. I'm actually in my gym's cafeteria. Having gone swimming this morning. So thank you all. Thank you all for having me this morning. My name is Lisa Reynolds. I'm a state senator and pediatrician. I'm here in support of the Establishing Safe School Zones Ordinance. And I spoke with this commission on this topic on May 7th and May 21st. I want to thank Commissioners Brim Edwards and Moyer for bringing this forward, and I appreciate the conversations I've had with other commissioners, and of course, I thank the community for their advocacy in this realm. As a pediatrician for over 30 years, I have seen firsthand how addiction harms and even kills our young people, and it creates harm in our whole community. Overdoses, infectious disease, homelessness, mental health disorders, including schizophrenia. These are all just some of the outcomes and associations with addiction. And we know that evidence-based harm reduction works, including access to clean needles, while also encouraging those with addiction to seek treatment and other long-term supports. But as many of our community members have pointed out, this important public health measures led to a risk to a different population. When needle debris litters our sidewalks, parks, and other public spaces, we see an uptick in discarded needles after mobile home reduction distribution events. A modest intervention will help. Let's limit the site of needle distribution, mobile needle distribution, by establishing 1,000-foot buffer zones around K-12 schools. Educational leaders in Northwest Portland, including Peyton Chapman, principal of Lincoln High, and Pan Vanderwolf, principal of Chapman Elementary, they support this ordinance among school superintendents and even mayors, especially for the neighborhoods that students traverse on their way to school or visit during the lunch hour if you're in high school only. Emails to my office are 10-1 in favor of this intervention. And the public health leaders across the state and in the county have endorsed this ordinance. I would never endorse this without their thumbs up. I know it goes too far for some and not far enough for others, and maybe this is the policy sweet spot. And for those who disagree, including my heroes who take care of people with substance use disorders, I say this: we are not doing away with harm reduction services. I would never advocate for that. We've looked at maps. We've been told by PPOP that they've already moved beyond the 1,000-foot zone. Indeed, this is a compromise from previously proposed 2,000-foot zones, which included preschools and daycares. This is kind of how the sausage gets made in policy. The community is not making up the fact that, as noted above, needle debris markedly increases in the immediate vicinity where distribution takes place. This makes sense. I know there's some research conflating whether this is true or not, but we know our own eyes and ears. I understand that needle collection happens from those who distribute needles, but it's not enough in the timing and vicinity of where we're seeing the debris. That's a whole other topic we need to attack in a different setting. And it's certainly, this is not what we're seeing in the Cooch Park Stadium Hood area in terms of collection of needle debris. I will say I agree with the cost concerns in the letter sent by addiction specialists, but here we are. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Next, we have Representative Darcy Edwards. Representative Edwards, you can unmute yourself and begin.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Darcy Edwards, representative of District 31, and I represent Columbia, Multnomah, Washington, and a little bit of Yamhill counties. This ordinance is about protecting children, not punishing people struggling with addiction. Parents shouldn't have to worry about their children walking past discarded needles, drug activity, or syringe distribution sites on their way to and from school. Schools should be safe zones focused on learning, child development, and student well-being. A 1,000-foot buffer is not an extreme proposal. We already have established buffer zones around schools for things like tobacco, marijuana, sex offenders, and other activities involving child safety and public health. This proposal does not ban syringe service programs. It simply creates reasonable boundaries around places where children gather every single day. The county has a responsibility to prioritize public safety, especially when it comes to protecting children. Compassion and accountability can coexist. We can care about people struggling with addiction while also protecting children and families. Why should children have to bear the burden of failed public policy decisions made by adults? Compassion for addiction and protection for children are not mutually exclusive. We can and should care about both. Thank you.
That is it for virtual testimony, and we will now do in-person testimony. I'll call people down 4 at a time, starting with Antonia Lawler, Michelle Mila, Haven Wheelock, and Sarah Smith.
Thank you, and I wanted to thank the representative for her testimony today. Good morning. You can go ahead and begin, and don't forget to hit the button on the mic.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Antonia Lawler, and it's a privilege to be here in person this time. I'm here to support establishing Safe School Zone as a member of District 2, as well as a mother of a 5-year-old. I'm also part of a group that has been working on gathering and presenting information to community members, city, and state officials about the unregulated, out-of-state mobile syringe, pipe, tourniquet, drug cooker, etc. giveaway, not exchange, in our city called P-POP, who leaves users and used drug paraphernalia stranded in our community. Why would we want a group with these standards by our K through 12 schools, and why would they want to be by K through 12 school-age children? I'd like to ask you to think back to previous meetings. You see community members, parents, health professionals, and even previous drug users. I've been in my fair share of city meetings where kids themselves are informed and proudly advocate on their own behalf. They are not here, and that's because we can't bear to voluntarily expose them to this subject matter. The concept of safe school zones is already all around us. For example, slower speeds are posted, and as previously mentioned, the many cannabis shops in the city can't be within a certain distance. Something else that is widely accepted in our daily lives is the movie rating system. It acknowledges that children from rated G up to the age of NC-17 should be prevented or forewarned specifically about drug use, paraphernalia, and the realities of addiction. It's reasonable to want similar standards for K through 12 kids off-screen. There's enough room for safe school zones and responsible harm reduction in separate designated areas. Please support establishing safe school zones, and I encourage stronger regulation in the future to include things like extending the safety zone to preschools and registration with the county. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Michelle Miller, and I am a co-founder of Stadium Hood Neighbors in Northwest Portland, and I'm here in support of the Safe Schools ordinance. I want to share just a couple of quick things, what it's doing right now, what it doesn't address, and what we could talk about that hopefully can come next out of this. It does establish an important principle that location matters, that schools deserve a protected zone, children deserve protection. A concern that began with neighbors documenting some conditions in and around Cathedral School, Lincoln High School, and Metropolitan Learning Center is now being recognized in county code. A coalition that Commissioner Brem Edwards mentioned with the mayors of Portland and Gresham and Troutdale, along with 5 school superintendents, district superintendents through the Multnomah Education Service District, arrived at that same conclusion. So what this ordinance does not yet do is create a full accountability framework, registration, location disclosure, operational reporting, cleanup responsibility, meaningful enforcement remain a little bit unresolved right now. A letter of education triggered by a resident complaint is not so much accountability, it feels more like paperwork. And so that burden, the way that it's written, is still going to fall on that community to identify, document, and report things. So these gaps are documented in the evidentiary record that was submitted to the board last week on May 28th. The research cited in opposition studied fixed registered programs with disposal infrastructure, and that's not what is operating in our neighborhoods right now. The January 2028 sunset recognizes that this ordinance is a bridge, and it gives us time to build a system that is more transparent and durable. It establishes a deadline by which the county and the state should produce something stronger and more accountable. Senator Reynolds' office has indicated its intention to pursue the legislation during the 2027 session. And so I think this ordinance is an important step, and I hope that the board will approve it and continue the work on it that remains. And we just really appreciate your time on this and all the work that's been brought forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Vega Peterson and members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Sarah Smith, and I'm here today to oppose the ordinance to establish safe school zones. I've been working with syringe service programs since I got sober back in 2021 and can speak to their effectiveness in building community, connecting people to life-saving resources, and keeping our whole community safe. I also know that forcing programs to relocate services will cause harm by creating resource instability and losing community trust that it has taken years for programs to foster. I know this as someone that has utilized these services and seen them save countless lives. Now, I'm 23 and in recovery from addiction and homelessness. but I grew up witnessing drug use from my brother Mike, who started when I was 9 and he was 11. At home, I was witness to chaos and drug use that we were not supposed to talk about. Despite it all, I loved my brother, and he was my best friend. During his drug use, Mikey overdosed many times. The first time I had to Narcan him, I was 15. Then, when I had my drugs cut with fentanyl at 16, he sat with me to make sure I didn't die. What broke through the isolation and fear I felt at that time was my brother's commitment to me and his love for me. He committed suicide just after his 20th birthday. He lacked a sense of community and struggled to see a life where he was valued. The unfortunate context of this proposed ordinance is that many youth are already witnessing the impacts of addiction in their own homes or experiencing it themselves. According to the National Institute of Health, 1 in 4 kids nationwide have at least one person in the home with a substance use disorder, and almost 10% of kids aged 12 to 17 in Oregon have used an illicit drug in the last month. Policies like this one only protect a certain type of person or family. For others, this policy is just a reminder that they are not seen as part of the community, that they are unwanted, dangerous, or invisible, or, in the case of youth, that they are destined to be these things. If we really want to protect children, we should be providing resources and destigmatizing addiction, not trying to make it invisible. The presence of harm reduction programs within our communities is not only a public health necessity, but also a demonstration to our young people that when they grow up, they will be treated with dignity, that they will not feel ashamed of their stories, and most importantly, that their community will show up for them. For the sake of all of our young people and our community as a whole, I urge you to vote no on this stigmatizing proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Chair Vega Peterson and members of the commission, for the record, I am Haven Wheelock, and I've been working in the field of harm reduction here in Multnomah County for 20 years. As you can all guess, I am here today to oppose the Safe School Zone policy. Decades of evidence has shown that syringe service programs do not increase drug use, do not increase drug-related litter or crime. However, they prevent the transmission of HIV, bloodborne illnesses, they prevent overdose death, and they improve the likelihood that someone will get access to health care and recovery services. While I know we are not debating the merits of syringe services, I bring this up because I've heard it said multiple times that studies are not looking at mobile services and just looking at fixed sites, and that is just not true. The vast majority of research on syringe access programs do include both brick and mortar sites and mobile services. Mobile syringe service programs are an important part of our public health infrastructure. Meeting people where they're at in communities serves as a bridge for people who have been shut out of our current systems of care. They give people who are not trusting of our traditional healthcare system a chance to see that their lives and their health matters. And these programs are able to link people to care in ways that are unique. Outreach to the most impacted people is a cornerstone of public health practice. It is how we eradicated smallpox. It's how we got COVID vaccines to some of the most vulnerable in our community. And these mobile programs are preventing HIV and overdose death today. Issues of homelessness and addiction are complex problems to solve. We all agree that public drug use and using in the community is not anything anyone wants, including people who are using drugs. They would prefer to have safer places to be too. That said, moving syringe services are not going to end homelessness. It's not going to fix our addiction crisis. All it will do is make it harder for people who are needing these services to get access. I'm concerned that this commission is considering policy that is not based on sound science or evidence-based practice, and I want to believe that we are a community that is rooted in trying to solve the problem and not just a symptom. I want us to do that with kindness at the center. I do not believe that this policy will achieve those goals. If it's true that we actually want to deal with drug-related litter and public drug use near schools, then we need to be working to increase sanitation services near schools, giving people support to get them out. We need more outreach, not less, to these communities in these places. I urge you all to not let emotion or politics dictate public policy and overrun the science involved in this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Seata Thompson, Glyceria Cianos, and Zeke Harrington.
Good morning. You can begin.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Seata Thompson. I am a District 1 resident. Over the last several years, Oregonians have been asked to sacrifice a great deal in the name of compassion. We passed Measure 110. We approved the Supportive Housing Service tax. We've spent billions of dollars on addiction, homelessness, and harm reduction programs. And I continue to ask, why must we also sacrifice our children? Children should not have to walk past discarded needles, open drug use, overdose scenes, and fentanyl activity on their way to school. The circumstances that created these programs have changed. In the 1980s and 1990s, the priority was preventing the spread of HIV. Today, the crisis is fentanyl, methamphetamine, untreated mental illness, and overdose deaths. Times have changed. Our policies should too. Portugal is often the pointer that the current supporters of this approach point to, but Portugal didn't simply hand out supplies. Portugal built a bridge from addiction to recovery. Portugal built a bridge. Oregon built the front half of the bridge and then acted surprised when people got stuck in the middle. That's why I continue to ask a simple question. If mobile syringe distribution is a healthcare service, why are we fighting so hard to keep it near schools instead of hospitals, clinics, behavioral health centers, and treatment providers? Healthcare services belong near healthcare infrastructure. This isn't anti-harm reduction. This is pro-treatment. It's pro-recovery, because I don't want people to just survive. I want them to live. Keeping people alive is the floor. Helping people recover is the goal. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you very much, County Commissioners. My name is Zeke Harrington. I am a nonprofit employee, QMHA, and a harm reduction volunteer. I'm speaking for myself, and I'm returning to defend safe syringe programs and oppose this 1,000-foot school ban. Just as a quick aside, I did previously work for Central City Concern. We did work at a building that had to be moved about a quarter mile, half a mile downtown. It was a disruption. In that situation, the fire department said we had to do it. There is no fire in this situation. I do not believe the evidence has been provided that we need this harmful disruption to our services, which, by the way, I do think is also discriminatory. We've heard a lot of testimony about how there's quite a discriminatory aura. We don't have a fire, just inflammatory news coverage. Last week in past comments, past discussions, we heard a lot of comments about this is reasonable, this is, just a modest proposal. After all, we were going to do 2,000 feet, so it's twice as reasonable now. Respectfully, we do not do public health based on what is reasonable, especially not what is reasonable to maybe a layperson who's unfamiliar with the topic, unfamiliar with the community that's being legislated against. Case in point, safe syringe programs, unfortunately, we do not have data that they cause an increase in drug litter. I know that seems a bit counterintuitive, a bit odd. If that medical evidence existed, we would have heard it. That medical literature is not in evidence. We actually see that safe syringe programs cause a significant reduction in drug litter in the communities they're operating. That does seem a bit counterintuitive, but keep in mind that CDC data shows that the bulk of needles in any given community is going to be syringes from retail pharmacies or healthcare facilities. Here in Multnomah County, that's Multnomah County Health Department outside in, they're doing great distro. So we are, to use an analogy with cigarettes, we're not the only store in town selling cigarettes. We're actually one of the smallest stores in town selling cigarettes. We don't have a big impact in the number of cigarettes from our business. But we do sell ashtrays, that's what we specialize in. We're very good at getting people who've never used ashtrays before to start using ashtrays. So if you force us to move half a mile, a quarter mile away, give us some discriminatory requirement that we can't be near certain other businesses, it's not going to do anything to disrupt the flow of litter. It is going to disrupt our ashtray distribution. And it is going to have actually a counterintuitive effect. It's actually going to increase the amount of drug litter. There was another comparison in previous weeks comparing this to cannabis dispensaries. Respectfully, those are businesses. They have to meet commercial zoning requirements. That's more about cannabis corridors and retail access. And I do not think saying, well, we can set up anywhere there's a cannabis dispensary. I don't believe that's a kindness. I don't think that's the metric we should be using for whether this is an effective regulation. We are usually confused for church groups. We're just handing out sandwiches, we're handing out clothing. We do not have a huge impact. We do not have over 200 harm reduction groups operating in Multnomah County. Maybe if we did, this regulation would be needed. This time would be well spent. We are just a couple volunteers. We have a van. Sometimes we don't have a van. Sometimes we don't have a table. Sometimes we don't have a rain canopy. We have a very small footprint. I would say all of the harm reduction groups in Oregon altogether have less than the footprint of a single cannabis dispensary. We are providing very brief windows of connection with people. Pardon me. I urge you to reject this resolution. It is a policy change addressing a news headline, not actual public health needs. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Ria Sinas. I'm a parent, a person in long-term recovery from injection drug use, and I've served my community for nearly 2 decades in harm reduction and low barrier services. I'm here today grounded in the principles of disability justice. I'm here to highlight the impacts and long-term implications this policy will have on our community's ability to survive, and to urge this board to talk to community members and community partners and people with lived and living experience as you move forward with implementing this ordinance. The proposed 1,000-foot safe school zones ordinance will destructively intersect with a $1.14 million reduction to our county's harm reduction portfolio and a projected 8% federal cut to behavioral health funding, alongside structural overhauls of SAMHSA and other health and human services programs. Together, those forces will fracture our ability to serve our most vulnerable neighbors. We are currently navigating a dearth of accessible services for unhoused individuals living with physical, mental, and substance use disabilities. According to the Portland State University Tri-County Point in Time count, 42% of our unhoused neighbors report living with a physical disability. When we look specifically at our unsheltered population, local medical data reveals that over 80% report living with at least one disabling condition, with nearly 40% experiencing mental health disorders. Disability justice teaches us that we must center the leadership of those most impacted by systemic barriers. For thousands who cannot physically access brick and mortar clinics, mobile outreach is not a luxury. It is their only barrier-free point of contact, their survival line, and their baseline for collective access. This ordinance acts as a de facto ban on mobile care, marching the county directly into a civil rights violation. The ACLU has formally cautioned that you are dangerously minimizing the federal court precedent in Lewis County, Washington, which affirmed that ADA protects low-barrier harm reduction services. By ignoring these legal warnings, this board is exposing Multnomah County to costly preventable federal civil rights litigation. This approach also runs counter to public sentiment. Attitudes towards harm reduction have fundamentally softened. National polling suggests that 75% of Americans want substance use treated as a healthcare issue, and 85% agree harm reduction treats people with dignity while saving lives. Commissioners have said they've consulted with us in the past. This has not been our experience. True buy-in cannot happen by checking a box. So today, my central ask is this: as you move forward, commit publicly and bindingly to a real engagement process. Disability justice demands that we view people as whole beings whose lived experience is vital. Bring community partners, frontline providers, and people with lived and living experience to the table, not as an audience, but as co-authors of this county safety plan. Give us transparency about how this proposal was developed and a seat in deciding what replaces it. You cannot build a safe community by shutting out the experts and restricting the physical geography of survival. Pause the ordinance, listen to the ACLU, uphold the ADA, honor the principles of disability justice, and partner authentically with the community to keep our neighbors alive and safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all for public testimony.
Okay, thank you so much, Tasia. We'll now move on to board discussion on this. I will say that we did receive some additional public comment, written public comments that some of them were referred to in testimony today from different entities, and so we will make sure that those become part of the public record as well. I believe our board clerks have them. So Tasia and Emily, if we can just make sure that those also get posted to the meeting materials today. Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so we will open it up to board discussion on the item. Questions? I think just in relation to to some of the letters that we did receive this week, I was just curious if either your office, Commissioner Brim Edwards, or your office, Commissioner Moyer, had any follow-up or discussion with any of the folks who had sent the letters this week, including, I think the ACLU Disability Rights Program was one, some of the doctors were others.
Certainly took them into discussion, as we did with other, some of the issues they raised, whether it's cost or legal issue, we've already had discussions about. And this past week, we addressed the cost issue in the budget discussion, so.
Okay.
Appreciate that. I say, I appreciate everybody weighing in and respect that there's, can be different opinions. And, I think one thing I would say when people ask about the transparency of the process is, I think we very clearly shared at the beginning how this developed. Senator Reynolds asked if we could consider creating a bridge, and the proposal was crafted to try and align with the state, within the realm of the county's jurisdiction and the authorities we have, was trying to align with what was already in the state legislation.
I think it's important to clarify the record. I don't think it's fair to assume you know the histories of the people who drafted this, or that we lack knowledge. I find that personally pretty offensive as somebody who has experienced dual diagnosis, who spends a tremendous amount of my professional life working to both as the job I had directly before this. I was the public policy director for Disability Rights Oregon, so I'm intimately familiar with the ADA, which does not actually cover active drug use as an ADA protected condition. It does cover people in recovery. Now, people who experience disability have a right to access services the same as everybody else, and I absolutely fully support that. But as somebody who both experiences disability and has experienced issues related to mental health and substance use, I am very knowledgeable about my position. It is my position. I don't expect other people to necessarily agree, and that is totally fine. But I don't like feeling like my position is out of ignorance. It's not out of ignorance. It may be a different position. I respect that. I get it. I do believe in harm reduction. I do feel like those in opposition who have every right to be in opposition have never addressed children and their vulnerabilities and what is reasonable or not reasonable for children to be around. It's okay if you don't think that a buffer zone is needed. I respect that. I disagree. There are certain things that are, from my perspective as a parent, not age appropriate. And that's okay. I would like that freedom around a school to let a kindergartner not see some activity that I have tremendous empathy for. I don't blame people who have addictions, and I certainly don't think they should suffer needlessly from cruelty, which I think limiting access to things like clean syringes or, shelter or other exclusionary policies. I don't support those things because I don't view people with addiction as less than. But I do take umbrage with the assumption that to want to create a buffer zone is to not care or be ignorant or have a lack of understanding, because that's not accurate. Good people disagree, and that's okay. That's fine, we can disagree, I'm fine with that. You may choose to not vote for me, that's also fine. But I do think it's really important when we disagree to not assume where someone else is coming from. So I'm just going to clear the air. That's where I'm coming from. I don't think that people who disagree with me are naive or uncaring or whatever that is, but I do think it's important to be careful about assuming motive or assuming where somebody is coming from.
Thank you, Commissioner. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate everybody who's testified. I think through the questions and comments that I have had, I think one of the big things that has been a concern to me is that we as the county are able to implement anything that this board passes. So I think that the steps that we take in allocating some dollars in this next fiscal year budget is really important to making sure that our public health department can deliver on this, or our health department can deliver on this. I know that there have been some conversations with our health department on the implementation of this and the enforcement on this. And so this, by default, any ordinance that we pass is effective 30 days after passage. I think my staff has had conversations with the health department, and there's some questions about what's needed in terms to ramp up and make sure that enforcement can happen. I am curious about the conversations that you have had with them, because one of the things that I'm contemplating is adding an amendment that would just say that that the sections in the ordinance are effective 60 days after passage of the ordinance instead of 30 days, just so that our health department has time to ramp up for that.
So just a point of clarification, so that would be just the enforcement, but we would be, actually, the community standard would be effective on the normal timeline.
The community standard, so there's a couple different ways we could do it. As written, it just says everything in the ordinance would be effective 60 days. We could also say that we could just not speak to the, we could also not speak to the effectiveness of the entire ordinance and just say enforcement of this ordinance would begin 60 days after passage. And I'm getting some heads up from some thumbs up from the health department about the enforcement piece.
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about last time, because you mentioned you might offer an amendment. I also said we could make clear at the dais that there was going to be a time for a ramp up, and I assumed because you hadn't brought it forward that you wouldn't be bringing one forward. I don't think there's any need to delay the setting of a community standard. I think we can set the expectation, whether sitting here at the dais and having a public discussion about it, because I think that's a natural thing, that it wouldn't be, the next day. The infrastructure in place, but I wouldn't want the whole. I don't think it's necessary to delay the setting of the community standard to 60 days.
Let me suggest, since this was a topic of conversation with the health department, that reporting and enforcement not begin until September 1, since that's around when school starts, and that seems like.
Can I offer maybe a friendly,
sure.
August 15th, because the largest school districts in Multnomah County start before Labor Day. I don't know about all of them, but start before Labor Day. So in some cases, I would maybe August 15th, which is a little bit longer than yours, but I guess that's more than, it's almost.
So my understanding is that we're going to need a third reading on this ordinance because of the amendment that we passed. Is that correct, Attorney? County Attorney?
You can characterize it as a third reading, but it would be a second reading on the ordinance as amended.
Okay, so we're going to have I know we're scheduling that. So I think what I'm hearing from the health department is that they want 60 day, they would like to see 60 days, at least 60 days after that for enforcement to begin. And so I think it just, that will depend on, I know we were trying to figure out how we can, schedule that second reading as amended as soon as possible. But
Well, but they know, if they know now, I mean, I don't think we need to, I would strongly recommend that we try and do it clearly before the start of school. And like I say, I don't know when Labor Day falls, but last couple of years it's been still in August. And
So just so I understand the process, we would need to amend that now to not trigger a fourth reading?
Right, yes. Right, that's what I'm trying, I want to get it done today.
Okay.
That's what, and so, again, like, I think what I really want to make sure is that we can, as a county, enforce this and really, I know that our departments really want to make sure that they are able to deliver on what this board passes, and so I want to make, so that's why the conversations with them on what's needed for enforcement would be important. I think the community standard, because they're going to have to hire personnel and do some of those things, and that's just, so I don't want to set a false expectation of when the enforcement will begin, and I think that either September 1st is reasonable, or I said 60 days after passage, which may be even sooner than September 1st, so I'm open to either one, but I would like to see us just have something that we can, again, make sure we can implement, and that the public has a good expectation of what we're going to be able to deliver on.
I don't have any objection to having a date in August be for the enforcement. I think it's unnecessary to have it be for the whole. I think we can go ahead and set the community standard. I'm just trying to look up when Labor Day is.
Labor Day is September, it's late this year. It's not till September 7th.
Okay, the latest possible could be.
Yeah, it's truly as late as possible.
I'm a Labor Day birthday, so I know it can be in August. So I would suggest maybe something like August 25th or whatever, the Friday before the last Friday in August, just so that it's in place. Again, as I mentioned last time, while school starts generally the week before Labor Day or the weekend after, starting in generally 3 weeks before the start of school, you actually have staff and lots of students going back to school. Anybody involved in high school athletics is already at trainings and stuff, so I would hope that we would have something in place not too late. And respecting that they want to enforce it. So I don't know if you can see a sweet spot when you're looking, I'm assuming you're looking at the calendar.
I was going to say, I still think 60 days after final passage is like the easiest, and it will hit before the end of
But what date, what is it then if you're,
it depends on when we've passed final, but let's say like if it was the 23rd of June, which I think is what we're looking at, so if it's the 23rd of June, then that would be August 23rd, which is 2 full weeks before Labor Day.
well, do you have any objection to just say,
Don't we have time certain slots? Can we just put it in a time certain on the 18th or the 25th of June?
but I would
Yeah,
like
did I
it to
say
be on the
23rd?
23rd.
Yeah, I think the 23rd is actually a Tuesday, so I just misspoke, but it was the 25th that we're looking at.
So August 24th is
Monday?
Is a Sunday, or I'm sorry, a Monday.
Yeah.
Does that work?
It's 6 of one, half a dozen the other at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that, I will, I'm going to ask the health department to come down.
It's actually almost.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for coming down. So just wanted you to get on the record some of the conversations about, the need to have a delay in enforcement, and then your, kind of estimated timeline on getting things ramped up.
Yeah, thank you. Just for the record, Rachel Banks, your Health Department Director. I think so the latest conversations we had with your offices in D1 and D3 was that we wanted to, that there's kind of two ways to look at it, which is what you all are talking about. There's the when something's enacted. So I believe when you talk about community standard, that there's something that, and we can then communicate about that. And then there's the enforcement piece that would take the wrap up time. Kirsten can talk about more specifics of what that would be, but it includes hiring and whatnot. We talked at that point around a September 1st. I think as you all are talking about the 60 days would, it sounds like meet all of the needs in terms of it would give us time to ramp up and do those. It'd give us time to get going before school starts, and particularly if it passes on the date of the second or third reading of the amended ordinance.
So the language that I'm putting together for the amendment is, it would be adding a new section 5. And Jenny, I'll read it. I'm not, don't worry about it. I've got it written down. That's saying enforcement of this ordinance would be effective August 24th, 2026. Okay, great. Just wanted to get that on the record.
And Chair, if I can help with that amendment?
You can definitely help.
Yeah, we can keep section 4 as is, and we don't need a section 5, so, or a new section 5. We'll just make it real simple. So it'll say section 4 MCC 21.353 is added with an effective date of?
Okay.
Which was it again?
So that effective date would just, the way that you're describing it, Council Madcore, would be that that just impacts the enforcement provision, not the entire ordinance?
That's correct, Commissioner. It would only impact section 4, which is the enforcement section.
Okay, that's
and
great.
Can someone remind me what the date was again?
August 24th. So I'm going to pass the gavel.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. I would like to make a motion to add a sentence to section 4, enforcement of this ordinance.
The wording would be, you would be adding the wording and effective, and with an effective date of August 24th, 2026.
I'm adding an amendment that adds the words and what Jenny just said.
And with an effective date of August 24th.
And with an effective date of August 24th, 2026.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Any discussions? Tasia, can we go for a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Commissioner Moyer?
Yes.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Yes.
Adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're returning on the ordinance as amended. Thank you so much, Health Department. Really appreciate Kirsten and Rachel, your work on this. Okay. Any further discussion on the ordinance as amended?
So I just want to appreciate the folks who have continued to show up and testify or reach out as well, and say that I hear you, and I do want to, my office is committing to work with you all and others to find places that we can actually add additional sharps boxes to address what is the actual issue of the litter. And I don't have a magic bullet for that it can happen immediately, but I will continue to reach out to you and work directly with you to kind of help triage where there might be some locations that make a lot of sense that are in some of these impacted areas. So thank you for uplifting that issue today as well, and thank you for your ongoing support and testimony.
Yeah, and to build off that, just want to say thank you, Commissioner Singleton, for bringing forth the amendment that you brought forward this morning. And ditto, same thing that I said last week or over the last few weeks, as our office is learning more about just the services that you provide through the mobile syringe services. And to Commissioner Moyer's point, it's not about, we're not against harm reduction. It's just having just clear, just the safety of our school zones. So for that reason, I'm supportive of the resolution that's being presented. And then also, we need to continue to co-produce solutions with everyone. And it seems like that was a miss through this process. So I just want to put that out on the record and just say thank you for coming and participating in the process, and also with the community members from City and Hood as well. Thank you for participating in the process as well as we build out the solution and lead the way. Thank you.
Okay. And now is also then going to be the time for final comments, if anyone has additional final comments. Okay, I would just like to say I really appreciate that all of the advocacy that has gone on this issue. This has been, something that I know has been a concern to the community, especially the community in Northwest Portland for a long time. And I think we also know that the work of harm reduction is also incredibly important and part of our mission for Multnomah County in helping to deliver on the public health of our community. And I appreciate all of the voices that have been brought forward to this. In thinking about this action and this ordinance and what this policy, the impacts of this policy, I wanted to weigh our duty as the local public health authority and what that means in reducing harm in our community with the needs of our of the children and families who are impacted in this. And I think I shared earlier, when my kids were little, we lived right across the street from a park, and we did find syringes in that park, and that is something that, as a parent, is a huge concern, the safety and well-being of our children. I think for me, the biggest deciding factor was, really something that Commissioner Moyer had brought up, which was the fact that when you think about this 1,000-foot zone, buffer zone and what it means, it's the same one that we're thinking about when we talk about cannabis and the impact of that, and that there's no shortage of cannabis shops in Portland and Multnomah County. And I think that is something that this is, I think, a really good step forward in trying to provide the buffer for safety for our children around schools, and recognizing the need of critical service of harm reduction overall. I will say that this is something, and I want to just really appreciate this board for the really thoughtful discussion, the changes, and the way that we've been able to shape this policy over the last couple of months to get something that's both workable for the county that we can implement and deliver for our community, but also recognizing some of the impacts to the work that's currently happening, whether it is the harm reduction work that is happening right now in some of the permanent facilities. So thank you, Commissioner Singleton, for your amendment, to also thinking about the fact that this is truly something that needs to happen at the state level, and putting in the sunset so that it continues, so the state continues to move forward with this and do something at that level. So I will be supporting this ordinance, and just again appreciate all of the input, the community voices, and the work of this board on that. Okay, Tasha, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Commissioner Moyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Chair Vega-Peterson?
Yes. The second reading is approved, and we will have a second reading on the amended ordinance on June 25th. Thank you.
We have to recess now.
Yes, we do need to recess. We will recess as the Multnomah County Board of Commissioners and convene as the governing body for the Dunthorpe Riverdale Sanitary Service District Number 1. And I will be passing this over to Commissioner Moyer.
R7, resolution adopting FY 2026-2027 Dunthorpe Riverdale Sanitary Service District 1 budget and making appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Chair Vega Peterson moves, and Commissioner.
Chair Vega Peterson moves. I believe it's Commissioner Singleton. Seconds. Have we received any public testimony on this item? Or have anyone signed up?
No, we have not.
Fantastic.
So if you want to turn.
Can we, sorry, that was first, wasn't it? My bad. Go first. Clearly, I'm not ready for this responsibility.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Vega Peterson and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Britta Shinsky, and I use she, her pronouns.
All right, and good morning. For the record, my name is Chet Hagan. I use he, him pronouns.
We are here from the Department of Community Services, and I'm here this morning asking for your approval of this resolution adopting the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget for the Dunthorpe Riverdale Service District. This budget will provide the district with necessary appropriations to support both operations and capital projects. On April 30th, you convened as the District Budget Committee and approved the budget as submitted. The approved budget was submitted to the Tax Supervising and Conservation Commission for their review and comment. TSCC notified us on May 15th that they had completed their review and consideration of the budget and certified that they had no objection or recommendation. For public noticing, the district's approved budget was posted on the county's main webpage. In addition, a copy of the budget was posted to the local newspaper. Both noticing practices fulfill the requirements of local budget law. No questions or comments were received. The district's fiscal year 2027 budget is set at $7,350,000, with $3,150,000 for the reconstruction of the Elk Rock pump station and $805,000, for materials and services. With our approval today, the district will submit the adopted budget to TSCC by July 15th, and will also, can you keep going?
And we'll also file the resolution along with a list of district properties to both Clackamas and Multnomah County Assessor's offices. And Britta and I are available for any questions that you may have at this time.
Do we have any public testimony on this item? I think we know the answers now. Okay. Then we'll go to board questions and comments. Commissioner Singleton.
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Bram Edwards.
I'm good, thanks.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon.
Same, thank you. Yeah.
Chair Vega Peterson.
Just thank you for all the work on this and stewarding these tiny little districts that we are responsible for and getting their budget every year. Just appreciate all of the work. Again, my last year doing this, so I just want to thank you because for the last 10 years, you guys have been making sure that we don't miss a step with all of these, and I appreciate it.
Right, I also have no questions. The board clerk will now take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Yes.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Moyer?
Yes. Having received a majority vote, the amendment passes, or the resolution passes. Okay, now I'm going to hand it. Do I get to hand it back?
So now you can say.
We will adjourn. We will adjourn as the Dunthorpe Riverdale Sanitary Service District Number 1 and convene as the governing body for the Mid-County Street Lighting District Number 14. And I will be handing, who am I handing this to?
Commissioner Jones-Dixon.
Okay.
It is backwards in there, yeah. I fixed it on mine, so we'll make sure. Yeah.
Tasia, can we get the reading of R8?
Yeah. R8, resolution adopting FY 2026-27 budget for the Mid-Multnomah County Lighting Service District Number 14 and making appropriations.
So moved.
Thank you. Can I get a second? So moved by Chair Vega Peterson and seconded by Commissioner Singleton.
All right.
Pass it up to Chet and Britta. Welcome back.
Good to be here, Commissioner. For the record, I'm Chet Hagan with the Department of Community Services, And I'm just going to let Britta off speaking anymore at the moment. So we are here today asking for your approval of the resolution adopting the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget for the Mid-Multnomah County Street Lighting Service District number 14. This budget provides the district with necessary appropriations to support operation and capital. On April 30th, you convened as the District Budget Committee and approved the budget as submitted. The approved budget was submitted to the Tax Supervising and Conservation Commission for their review. The TSCC notified us May 15th that they had completed their review of the approved budget and certified that they had no objections or recommendations to make with respect to the budget. The district's approved budget was also posted to the county's main webpage and a copy posted in the local newspaper as required by local budget law. No questions or comments were received. The district fiscal year 2027 budget is set at $1.8 million with $360,000 for the maintenance project on light photo control nodes. $912,000 of this budget is assigned as unappropriated and will be held to support future capital work the district is planning after the fiscal 2027 budget. With your approval this morning, this budget resolution will be submitted to TSCC and the Multnomah County Assessor, along with a list of 7,931 properties the district serves. And we are available for any questions you may have.
Before the questions, Tasia, do we have anyone here for public testimony?
No, we do not.
All right, let's move to the board for questions. Start with Commissioner Moyer. Commissioner Singleton. Commissioner Whitmer. Chair Vega-Peterson.
Just another thank you for, again, making sure that we're doing what we need to and our responsibility on this district, and for all of the years that you've made sure that happened. Thank you.
Yeah, no questions on my end. Tasia, we are ready for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Moyer? Yes. Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Byrne-Edwards? Yes. Chair Vega-Peterson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Jones-Dixon?
Yes, it is adopted. Thank you. We will adjourn as the governing body for the Mid-County Street Lighting Service District, number 14, as the Multnomah County Board of Commissioners, and I will hand it back to Commissioner Vega-Peterson.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. Tasia, can we move on to R9?
R9, resolution for an intergovernmental agreement with MHCRC member jurisdictions in the city of Portland to administer oversight of committed Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission funds.
May I have a motion? So moved. Commissioner Singleton moves, Commissioner Jones-Dixon seconds. Approval of R9. And I know that there's been a lot of good hard work on this by District 1, so thank you, Commissioner Moyer, and your staff for that. And with that, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. This is a long time in the making, and it is a lot of time that my staff will never get back in their lives, and I am sorry for that. Tracking this has been like what I assume it feels like to talk to me about Medicaid. I think I understand about 20% of it. But I am incredibly grateful for the staff, including my very own staff, Hayden, who has put in a lot of hours to navigate what has proven to be a wildly complicated process of dissolution and our plan moving forward. So I'm going to turn it over to Hayden to explain what today's resolution is about and how it fits in to a multi-step process we shall be going through together.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Happy to be here. Can you pull up the presentation? Oh, sorry, yes, my name is W. Hayden Ferris. I'm the Policy Director for Commissioner Moyer, he, him pronouns. Yep. And yeah, I'll be explaining the MHCRC dissolution, and an overview of it, and then step 1 of 4, which you will be voting on today. So this presentation is on the first of 2 IGAs recommended to help Multnomah County manage a world where the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission has dissolved. But before I explain the IGA, like I said, I'm going to provide a brief overview of the MHCRC and its dissolution. Next slide, please. So the MHCRC, or the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission, was formed through an agreement between Multnomah County and the cities of Fairview, Gresham, Portland, Troutdale, and Wood Village. An IGA among the governments grants the MHCRC the authority to regulate and administer cable franchise agreements. Multnomah County renewed its franchise agreement with Comcast in May of 2025. Then, on September 16, 2025, Gresham approved a resolution to withdraw from the MHCRC, accelerating discussions of MHCRC dissolution. On January 29, 2026, you approved dissolution of the MHCRC by or on June 30th, and Multnomah County became the final jurisdiction to sign onto MHCRC dissolution. Next slide, please. The MHCRC performs a variety of services on behalf of its member jurisdictions. These services are collecting and dispersing cable revenue, providing funding to Metro East and Open Signal as our public education and government access providers, providing grants to other organizations, providing oversight and compliance to these grants and the Comcast franchise agreement, and some miscellaneous tasks such as a cable complaint line and discussions with Comcast as needed. Relevant to Multnomah County, 3 legal updates are in the works for a post-MHCRC world. First, cable revenue collection and disbursement and Metro East funding will continue through an IGA between the county, Troutdale, Fairview, and Wood Village. Second, and the focus of today's presentation, Portland will provide oversight for the MHCRC committed funds that extend beyond MHCRC's dissolution of this June 30th. All members of MHCRC are planned to be a part of this IGA. Third is an update to the Comcast franchise agreement. This agreement was approved by the board when the MHCRC was not discussing imminent dissolution. Upon MHCRC dissolution, the franchise agreement needs to be amended to reflect a post-MHCRC world. And in addition to the legal agreements, Multnomah County will pick up a very small set of responsibilities, which are expected to be absorbed into current county staff. Cable revenues are available to compensate this work if needed, and these cable revenues are expected to be a net of $40,000 to the county. Next slide, please. So on to the IGA for your consideration today. This is an IGA where Portland would administer oversight of MHCRC committed funds. The MHCRC committed funds through 2 types of grants. The first was technology grants, which went to various organizations and last up to 3 years. The second is grants to Metro East and Open Signal, our PEG providers, also known as our public education and government providers, and these last up to 1 year. Portland will provide oversight to these committed funds and will report compliance concerns to Multnomah County and the other IGA members. We do not expect any compliance issues. There have been no past compliance issues, but that is a matter of detail we still have to pay attention to. The cost of this is $19,115 over 3 years, and the majority or all of this cost will be paid for from part of Multnomah County's allocated MHCRC asset distribution upon MHCRC dissolution, and these funds would be routed directly to Portland, and we would receive the remaining funds. Last, I want to highlight that this IGA is necessary because all MHCRC members pooled their money into the MHCRC who allocated grants on their behalf, so there's no differentiation of color of money. So all jurisdictions are responsible for oversight and compliance of these MHCRC committed funds. Next slide, please. And that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Hayden. Tasia, did we receive any public testimony on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, we'll go to the board for any questions or comments. We'll start with Commissioner Jones-Dixon.
No comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Moyer?
Thank you again for this responsibility that I delegated upon you. I'm really glad that, although I do actually track that, not easily. So thank you for everything that you've done, and thank you, staff, who have also, and Garrett, in your new position, you were also very helpful, so thank you.
Chair Singleton.
Thank you. I just had one question from the memo. There was mention that Gresham may not be joining the IGA, and so it offered one solution, and I wasn't sure kind of what happens next with that part of the conversation.
Yeah, so first clarify, Gresham has not offered that solution. I may have misheard you, but that is me saying one solution if Gresham doesn't join. This is something we're working with Gresham on right now, where the real goal is for Gresham to join. And if they decide not to, that is a conversation that I'll be having with the other MHCRC member jurisdictions. At this point, that recommendation I provided in the memo is all the information I have.
And so I think I heard this is a multi-step process, so we'll get updates about that before any of those kind of final next steps.
Yeah, now that I've briefed you all through this presentation and as well the memo, it'll be easier to communicate changes to this very dynamic landscape.
Awesome, thank you.
Mr. Brim Edwards.
So as somebody who had this in my portfolio before Commissioner Moyer joined the commission and got this assignment, I just want to thank you, Hayden, for your work on this, and Commissioner Moyer for your work on this and the time spent, and sort of wrapping it up with a bow. I'm going to be supportive, but thank you for doing that work.
Thank you so much. And I will just say, as the commissioner who had it before, when I was the district one commissioner, it's a long time. And there was a different Hayden working on this for the office, for my office. I just really want to appreciate, because I know how complicated and detailed oriented, and there's been huge changes in what this work has looked like over the years. So Hayden, thank you so much for bringing us home with this and the subsequent board actions we're going to be taking around this. All right, with that, we can have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brim Edwards? Aye. Sorry. Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Commissioner Moyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Chair Vega-Peterson?
Yes, the resolution passes. All right, that brings us to the end of our regular agenda for today. Now is when we have time for board comments on non-agenda items. I will open it up to commissioners to see who has items to share this morning. Commissioner Singleton.
I feel like I've been waiting so patiently through all of the budget sessions. I just have a few today. I wanted to give a shout out to Sarah Hurwitz, who just did an absolutely amazing job with the Burnside Bridge birthday celebration. For those who weren't able to attend, the turnout was ridiculous. The way that the event was set up was really amazing, and often the folks who do that kind of work don't get a lot of attention, but this was just, I thought she did such an amazing job with some surprise music performers and really just pulling everything together. There was just a lot of good feedback about that event, and so Director Bradway, I see you here as well, and your team has been just amazing to make sure that that could happen. Just also want to appreciate, I was able to be in the Starlight Parade and want to shout out Care Oregon and Rob in particular, who had this really awesome car for me to ride in. It was one of the first times I've been able to actually attend the parade, so I really just appreciated the fun that Starlight Parade really is, and I know they were combined this year, and folks have different feelings about them, but I got to be in the Starlight section, which was a lot of fun for me. I also want to thank the Oregon Vietnamese American Cultural Center for inviting me to their kickoff lunch for their Sanctuary Fund project. I think it's really critical that people know the work that we did, the money that we put out there is going to use immediately in this community. There were over 70 people at the event, and they were one of our mini grant recipients. So wanted to uplift their work and appreciate them for taking on a new contract with the county. And then lastly, I just wanted to talk about the restorative justice work. I'm really excited about the work group that will be stood up. We have some lessons learned, I think I've mentioned to you all, from the Reimagining Justice and Cully project, and the services that we're looking into around the Gateway Center, just really thinking about how we were showing up for victims and what community safety means to community members. So just really appreciate everybody's work on that, and I look forward to continuing to coordinate with LIPSIC as well as our restorative justice providers, and I know some work we need to do with the City of Portland as well for their engagement in restorative justice referrals and making sure that we take advantage of this state-funded program to make sure that we can have true healing in our community with tangible actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other announcements?
Go ahead.
Everybody's got them, so
Yeah.
go ahead. Anybody?
I'll go. Yes, I'll go. Just wanted to just shout out to one new business that's coming out to Gresham. It's Futbarrio. It's an indoor futsal court. Their grand opening is this evening, and they're all, majority of the owners are locals. So I just want to say shout out to them. It's a new business, and it's less than a mile from our library, which is pretty awesome. And then also just wanted to give a shout out to our library workers. Smead, she helped my daughter get a brand new library card a few weeks ago. Rich, he was drumming in the studio and also helping everybody out on the second floor. Wendy in the youth section as well, and Blabo, he always has a smile on his face. So just it's been amazing, an amazing addition out there in East County. Had an opportunity to participate in the DJing class last night with a group of 7th graders and other kids. So again, it's another asset, another thing for us to be proud of. And then lastly, just want to shout out to another Black-owned business, Callie's Wig Shop. They just moved their locations from Rockwood to a block away from the library as well. So their grand opening was 2 weekends ago too. So a lot of good things happening out in the district.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Burm-Edwards? Did you?
Sure. Just two quick things. One, just let everybody know that this is a District 3 event on Saturday is the Foster Soiree on Foster Boulevard, kind of centered around the area around Lowerwood Park. It's Saturday from 12 to 5. And also want to just have a shout out to the Rose Festival Association and Jenny Wynn from the Sports Bra, who joined me in my entry into the parade, which was Portland Loves Women's Sports. And I'll just tell you, the reaction from the crowd is like they love women's sports. And it was great to be part of something that our community is excited about, and happy to see the future of women's sports growing ever brighter in our community.
Thank you. Commissioner Moyer.
Yes, I wanted to wish everybody a happy Pride Month and briefly touch on why we celebrate Pride and encourage people who identify as members of the LGBTQIA2S+ and ally community to show visible support for Pride, because Pride is not for those of us who have found our peace and have built the lives that we dreamed of. Pride is for those who need to see that that is possible. And I think about being in my 40s and not wanting to be out past 9 p.m. and taking a 4-year-old to a march and parking God knows how far away from where we'll end, and then probably having to physically carry him back to the car. And do I really want to do that to myself? And then I remember the me of 17, that I did not know anybody openly gay, that I did not know that I could be a happy person, that I could achieve my goals, that this wasn't going to be something that ruined my life, but that it would be something that I embraced about myself and celebrated, and have found a lot of joy and community that I never knew that I could be a part of. And that self-acceptance and self-love are not just a gift we give to ourselves, but a gift we need to pass on to those who helped us get there ourselves. So I implore my happy queers to be visibly proud this month, not because you love rainbows. It's not aesthetically actually my favorite look, but whatever. I'm happy to don a rainbow. But remember your younger you, and remember the people that you looked at and saw yourself and thought, maybe this isn't the end of the world I've been told that it is. Maybe I can be happy, maybe I can have love, maybe I can raise children, maybe I can still run for public office or be a doctor or any of the other dreams that many of us have been lucky enough to achieve. So I ask my queer community and my allies this month to participate in Pride for the next generation and to be vocal and proud so that others know that they too can be open and proud. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for that. And I'm looking forward to our celebration of Pride next month and to align with the parade and all the other celebrations that will happen in Portland and Multnomah County. I have two announcements today. The first one is just a big thank you to the team, the robotics team, High Voltage 18108. They are volunteers, robotics instructors from the High Voltage team. They've been working with youth being served by the county's Bienestar de la Familia program. They're a group of 12 high school students who design and build robots for competition each year. My son actually participates in a different robotics team who also does a lot of work with younger students. And it's just an incredible program for both the skills that they learn, kind of the hard skills that they learn in designing a robot, doing the marketing and competition work, but also these experiences that they get to volunteer or to work with younger folks and really to be mentors in this. So they've been able to share their passion for robotics with other youth from different backgrounds in the community. This group has been coming to Bienestar every other Saturday to provide a robotics class for the youth for the last 3 years. And last February, they were selected by Governor Kotek to represent Oregon at a national competition in DC. So as a mother of a son who is passionate about this, I'm so grateful that kids in our community get the exposure and opportunity to explore robotics, to explore STEM field, and just really want to thank the youth, but also the instructors at High Voltage 18108. So we'll look forward to, I know Bienestar looks forward to having them back the next school year too. So just want to give them a shout out. The other announcement, though, as folks have likely heard, we are going to be facing a stretch of hot weather this weekend with especially high temperatures happening on Sunday and Monday. So the county, we have been working with our partners for coordination and planning. That work is well underway. County departments have been working to get cooling supplies out into our community to educate and support our partners around people who are at the highest risk for these elevated temperatures, and to share messages with the public about how to be prepared and stay safe. So in addition to all of the public cooling spaces that are routinely available, we are ready to stand up dedicated cooling shelters if we meet the criteria to do so. So we're going to be paying close attention to that. As always, resources for the community, as whether, where the locations of cooling shelters might be or other cooling resources in our community can be found on our website, multco.us/hot, multco-us/hot, HOT. This is really the best information for up-to-date resources. Important things that everyone can do right now is just to have a plan, so be prepared at home, plan to avoid outdoor activities at the peak heat if you can do that. And as always, please check on others, neighbors, friends, family members who might be at higher risk of health impacts of heat. So we want everybody to stay safe and stay healthy this weekend, so please look out for one another. That concludes our board meeting for today. Our next meeting is on Thursday, June 18th at 9:30 a.m. There being no further business, we are adjourned.